tropical heat wave. Whatever. Oh yeah. Cleaned the cymbals last night. Used the pledge. Still using the pledge. Absolutely beautiful. Clean. Just how cymbals should be. Hey everybody, how's it going, eh? Todd the cheap drums guy. Yeah, look at this. Long time no see. I'm not dead. I'm still here. And it was funny. Last night, or was it this morning? This morning. Yeah, this morning. I went online, checked my email, because, you know, I'm important and stuff. I got to do that kind of stuff. And then I went over to YouTube and checked, and I'm up to 698 subscribers, give or take 300 or 400. No, 698, almost up to 700 subscribers. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And I remember doing a little video after I got 50 subscribers. You know, I was really appreciative. And 700, I mean, that just tells me there's a hell of a lot of people out there with nothing better to frickin' do. Holy crap. But anyways, so my good friend Mr. Ed Kaminsky, Mr. Ed, left me a message, you know, hey Todd, hope everything's going cool, you know, going well, and hope you and the missus is fine. Last time I checked, she was still alive, so. But anyways, he goes, I was on a web, or another YouTube page the other day, and they mentioned you. And I'm like, well, I got my curiosity up. I'm like, is it a court TV, or, you know, is something to do with courts or something like that? I'm just kidding, but. And it was another drum channel, and the channel's called Ask Earl Anything. Damn it. Oh, crazy weather. Ask Earl Anything. And I thought it was just some run-of-the-mill dude asking questions, someone I didn't know. But it was one of my subscribers, Greg Wanhoff, Ask Earl, because, you know, that's Ask Earl Anything. What happened to all the YouTube drummers like R. David R., Stephen Colbert, and all that, and Cheap Drums Guy, and all? Why don't you see him anymore? And did I say that name, Stephen? God, it's been a while. Anyways, but he asked, what happened to all these YouTube drummers? How come there's no more content? And it was pretty cool, and to be mentioned by name. And I I typed in the comment, I'm not dead yet, I'm still here. Really interesting. Granted, you know, it's cool that I was a friend of the channel. It's Greg Wanhoff. Greg's a great freaking guy. But you know, I was kind of hoping it was some like no-name turd somewhere out there. But it almost made you feel kind of, you know, prestigious a little bit, you know. Stephen Taylor, that's who I'm talking. Not Stephen Colbert. Stephen Taylor and R. David R. putting in the same realm of these two. And I was like, you know, for a minute there, I was like, oh, look at me go. How do you like me now? No. I'm just some turd. Turd up in northern Michigan. Freezing us took us off. So it's been a couple months. Dude, just nothing going on. I did switch out the drums last night. I got my beautiful Olympic by Premier put out, and I put away the most dangerous drum set, the Army Green one, and it's just kind of nice. And it's kind of, I forgot I had the red hydraulics on here, so of course I got to get the matching snare, which is the Premier 14 by 5.5 model 2032. It's actually a Premier Cabria snare, which is a nice wine finish, but it's got that good attack red dot head on it. Oops. whatever. So, let's talk about this freaking cymbal. So, my Pisces. I love Pisces. They're absolutely wonderful. And the longer you do this, the more refined your ear becomes. Not to the proper sounds and all that kind of crap and how the tuning and whatnot, but just which is more appealing to you. And I see drummers with all sorts of different concoctions of cymbals, different brands and different types and all that, which is kind of cool. I don't know, I'm always brand recognition. I like sticking with a certain brand. And of course, Zildjian is probably the best known cymbals that you can get. But I've never been a fan of their sound because of that little extra tinny ring that you get to it. And it's the same thing with, what is it, Meinl. Meinl cymbals, they're high-end cymbals, have that little extra something I can just pick up. I heard one a couple weeks back, and they're beautiful, absolutely stunning looking cymbals. The two-tone Byzance, yeah, the Meinls. They absolutely look beautiful, but man, there is like nothing to them. I mean, there's the ones that I was able to handle was absolutely tiny. It was like aluminum foil, and it's like, you want $300 freaking for this thing? And no thanks. Their Meinl custom cymbals are pretty decent. They're really well made as well. I like their brilliant ones. They're two-tone. They're ones with the black on the inside. Those are a little tinny sounding as well, but they're custom. The bright customs are just wonderful. I'd like to get a set of those. Am I going to get a set of those? No, I'm not. I'm going to stick with my Pisces just because they made me happy. My ear really picks out the Pisces and really likes it. A lot of drummers who play Pisces, I happen to be a little bit more fond of, I guess. Maybe it's the sound of the cymbals. I don't know. Maybe it's just probably coincidence, which is probably maybe I'm just senile, which is a little bit also, has to do with it. But yeah, I really like the Pisces still. But the Sabian, my other set of Sabians right now. Remember that black drum set, the Pearls, the sound check that I donated to my coworker's son. He's doing really well. He's a number of concerts he's played in already. I haven't seen videos of. I'm not sure if he's using that set. I think he's just keeping that set at home and he's using the school's equipment. But as far as I'm told from my coworker, he's doing exceptionally well, and it still is a big source of pride to me. Granted, I didn't help train him with anything because I'm not an instructor. But I gave the kid a head start. I didn't, I had the means to do so. No one ever did it for me. Then again, I don't want to cart around a drum set, bebopping to different countries all around the world in the Army. They'd probably be destroyed, but. Anyways, making a longer story short, that's where my cymbals are, my Sabians. And they're probably going to stay there. He's throwing me a little bit here and there because his wife chewed his ass out when a new set of cymbals showed up over there. Well, he said, well, I'm going to buy them off him. Well, she wasn't happy about that because times are tight right now for a lot of people. But, he just throws me a little bit here and there, so I'm not too worried about it. So they're a little stay. But two of the cymbals I kept, which was the AA Sabian, because, man, I tell you, for a little, this is a 14-inch. This one's got a good sound. Sounds bigger than a 14-inch. This is a 17. This is a 17-inch. Of course, you could tell it's a smaller cymbal, a lighter cymbal, but it's still got a pretty decent sound to it. And then under 16, nice little sequence, despite being 3 inches smaller now. But for the 18. And then this monstrosity. A little more gong-like. No thank you. I don't like the gongs too much. So, what can we do to tame this cymbal out? Well, we could do the obvious things first. One, you can use a little ring. Now, which was another thing I picked up about a week ago. I saw, which kind of cool, is that they took the cymbal off and they took an old drum head, knocked a hole in it, put that on there, put the cymbal down on top of it, hit the cymbal, different sound. Flipped it over so that the aluminum rings on that side, put it back on, and then struck it again. I had just gotten rid of a bunch of old heads. I know, why'd you do that, Todd? Well, I had to. The only one I have left is a coated Emperor, and it's an older head, but it's still great condition. I'm not knocking a hole in that. So we're going to get away with trying to use this. So let's, okay, the control. And then this is just an Aquarian 14-inch studio ring. See what kind of change it makes in that. Big change. The sustain it knocked off. Now your bell, see that terrible bell compared to the Peisty. The bell supposedly where you get the sound of the cymbal, I guess, the sound of it, and I guess the regular body of the cymbal where you get the sustain and the loudness and whatnot, and how it's milled. This one's it looks like there's lathing marks on it, but I'd say this is stamped. This one looks like it's lathed, but I think this one's stamped. Probably just cheaper. But this one really takes, because it's so large, it takes a lot of that sustain away. The explosion, a lot less explosiveness. So, no, right there. I just had the bloody, oh, I put it right there. So this is an Evans pad, moon gel. Now I like using these too because the Peisty 20-inch ride is, boy, it's really washy. It really will carry out there. So I put one on that, and it does a really good job. I put it about midway on the cymbal. I don't know if you can see it, but it's about the middle spot of it. But it works really good, and it cuts down on a lot of that. You know, I want to hear the stick definitions of it, but I don't want to hear that wash carry away, because I'm a beginner player. I'm not an expert. So how hard I hit the cymbal, you know, varies, and I don't want it to, you know, I want it to rise and drop at when I want it to, not just when I'm playing along regularly, because I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing, because I have a tendency to zone off. So let's see what a moon gel can do to tame this one. Okay, now on the outside edge, it's going to cut its attack real fast, without question. Huh. Yeah, no, that's not going to work anymore. So, because supposedly you get the sound from the bell, let's just try one of these. So that's not really effective on that part of the cymbal, because that's where you're going to get your volume and all that too. So on the bell, big change already. Now, go along with the 18 Peisty. It's amazing what just that little bit did. And that's on the bell itself. Now, usually, go back a year from now, I probably would have taken a drill to that. And I would have dicked it up, and I just kept going. You know, what the hell? Who cares? You know, some people want to drink their retirement away. I'm going to screw shit up. That's what I'm going to do. But that's just a little bit really affect that bell. Or on the bell. Really affected the whole cymbal sound. Now, you can do the same with those. Now, I have my wonderful Chesapeake Bay crab potato chips up there, or crisps, what do you want to call them, my crab chips. So I took the thing off, the little clippy-do off the bag to try this out. I've never done this either, but I'm assuming by doing something like this will be just like with the moon gel added to the extra the outside rim of the cymbal. But this one's different because it's a little hard. It's like alligator clip. It might have a different sound. Who knows?
Well, it's the same thing. So we found that out. So the old standby for a lot of drummers is tape. I hate seeing tape. I really do. Have I used it before? Oh, of course I have. But it's just finding the right place to put the tape to get the sound that you want. The actual sound of that Sabian 18-inch AAX isn't bad. It's just, it's an explosive crash, Todd. Yeah, I know. Shut up. So, but let's make it less explosive so we don't have to cut it up like its brethren over here. Which I still got. This still sounds good. Still sounds good. Gotta get a new sander to clean off the top of the finish, or clean all the fake lines in it, grooves and whatnot. Okay, now sometimes all you need is a little piece of tape too. So let's try one right in the center. And what did I tell you I did before? I cleaned the cymbals with lemon pledge, right? Okay. Well, they are nice and clean, but because of the film, it's not sticking. So let's try another with one of the old moon gels, which seem to be shrinking. It's like it's cold outside. No, I'm just kidding. But anyways, let's try one of these in the center, see if we can get it. Okay. Bah. Of course, the Evans comes through as always. Yep, Evans sticks. So we tried on the outside of the cymbal, the outer edge of the cymbal, and of course just dumped it right down, which is not what we want. So let's try in the middle. Again, dumps it right down. Let's try up on the bell. And that was pretty good, like we tried. Well, we can't stick on the top, but we can go underneath. Now it's this one piece of tape right in the center of the cymbal. Let's see what kind of sound it changes on the sound it makes. That didn't do much. Let's bring it out a little farther. Still, let's just wrap it around the edge. Let's go with the tape on the bell. That's where I usually tape cymbals, if I do, or if and when I use the tape. This is a good time to talk about my sponsor, my wife. That's it. I'm in a weird, goofy mood this morning, so. Okay, now, about a 4-inch piece of tape up underneath the bell of the cymbal. Now, granted, bell's about, the only place where any of our muffling devices are working on it, but again, that is where the primary part of the sound of the cymbal supposedly comes from, I guess. Correct me if I'm wrong, which you probably will, and I'll probably ignore you anyways. But let's check it out. Let's check it out. Bell really, it doesn't affect it as much as the moon gels. Moon gels are maybe a little bit more absorbent of the sound. So that was a pretty simple little check. So the AAX, the Sabian AAX Explosive Crash 18-inch is made to sound in your face outrageous. All right, now for someone like me, I don't like in your face outrageous unless we're talking about strippers. I'm kidding, of course. Again, I'm in a weird mood. So I don't want to physically do anything to the cymbal that's going to cause it any damage or any harm. So this is just a little check to see what other newbies like myself, I've been going about 3 years now, I think it is. So I am never going to be a pro. I'm never going to live that long. But there are a lot out there to watch. You don't have to go out and buy new cymbals. I got caught up in that, material, get more stuff, and I did buy a lot of stuff, and with actually a very little amount of money. The only thing brand new I have is my hardware, the Peisty cymbals, and one snare or two snare drums. The rest is all used, and could be had for a quite reasonable price. But the cymbals, I kept thinking, well, I need to get more cymbals just because I need to have more sounds, and I have more to choose from, which is, it's not true, of course. I don't need all that. You can really modify your sound of your cymbals and your drums, for that matter, really easily and really simply with just a little piece of moon gel. Now, this is for all those new guys out here, all you old staples and whatnot who've been playing for a while. Of course, this video's just bunk to you. I mean, it's old hat. But there's a lot of people out there wondering how to do stuff, without cutting into cymbals, or thinking they have to buy new cymbals to make a better sound. You don't. Sometimes all you need is a little bit of tape. Well, that really don't work. And the tape doesn't work on that kind of cymbal, to tell you the truth. It only works on a heavier cymbal like the rides. But a little bit of moon gel will go a long way in changing that sound of that cymbal. The only thing it'll work on the main body of the cymbal, if you're trying to mute it down a little bit, so you're not going to, like if the wifey's upstairs, she's in a really bad mood because it teetered off last night. If you want to dumb down your cymbal so she can't hear, you're not going to be as disturbing, fine, put it on the body. But as far as toning down the cymbal, and it does change the sound quite a bit, just put a moon gel up on the bell. It does, it changes it a lot. I was actually thinking about knocking a couple of 1/4-inch holes in the bell. I still might do that down the line, just because a sound like this, I'm really never, ever going to want or desire. And if I do want something like that, I got my linear smash. This is a cool cymbal. I do not ever regret this cymbal at all. It is wonderful. I have been thinking about maybe putting a couple washers in a screw or a very large rivet, some that'll hold in these things, because this, coupled with the sound of a big rivet in there, man, that's just gonna sound boss. That's gonna sound cool. But again, this video was just for anybody new watching and just wanting to change, wanting something different. A lot of people out there, times are tough lately. I mean, I've only been getting about 30 hours a week at work instead of the usually 40 or 50. It's just, things have slowed down. The whole world has slowed down. YouTube has slowed down. Like I said, ask Earl anything, or ask, I believe that's a channel call, mentioning my name, because Greg Wanoff. What happened to Sarge? Nobody knows me. He does. Like, who the hell is this cheap drums guy? But it was kind of cool that it was mentioned, with Steven Tyler and R. David R. And I miss them guys. They haven't been out in a while, but since COVID ended, it seems like a lot of people just took a break and just went away. It could be the algorithm. Like Ask Earl Anything was talking about the algorithm, probably, or AI. I really don't know much about AI. I really don't care. It doesn't really affect me that I know of. I don't come home and, I don't have an AI wife to, yell at me. There's a good question to ponder. What if you had an AI wife and she really irritated you? Could you bonk her one? I mean, could you give her a pop and a kiss her? I've got a black belt in domestic violence. I mean, could I kick the crap out of my AI wife and get away with it and not go to jail? That's an interesting subject to think about. Of course, I'm not going to do that. I wouldn't hit my wife either. I'm a perfect gentleman. I just like to make myself look stupid. But anyways, so this was just a little quick video for any new drummers out there wanting to learn how to change the sound or tune down a cymbal a little bit. There's a lot of different things you can do. I did put the sound ring on there. That changed the sound considerably without causing any damage. Is it the greatest sound in the world? No, but it does definitely change it. It does definitely change it. And no damage. I didn't drill any holes. But for me, I'd say the Moon Gel's probably about the best thing you can do. And that, of course, is by putting it on the bell. Now, I've seen other people cut out small little plastic discs and put them on top of the cymbals or underneath so you can't see them, because I'm a big guy on looks too. I don't like having something that looks really gaudy and tacky on top of it, hanging all for my cymbals. It just, even though I'm down here by myself, I see it and I'm anal retentive. But anywho, let me get up out of here. I gotta go finish my coffee, and I might do a couple videos for my other YouTube channel. I have one called Hooligan 16 on War Thunder, and I just talk about the game War Thunder and problems with it. And all that. Do I expect you to go? No, don't do it, because nobody does anyways, because there's just nobody just watching or subscribing anymore. So I mean, it's just on a war game channel. I get a few people now and again, but anyways, I'm Cheap Drums Guy. I'm still not dead. Don't go asking all these people what happened to me. I'm still here. All you gotta do is send me a message. You send me a message, I get right back to you. You know that. So anyways, you guys have a wonderful week, wonderful month, and I'll see you when I see you. And take care of yourselves. Peace. My wife's going to watch this video and then call the cops because she thinks I'm going to beat her up now. I said, no, I'm going to beat up an AI version of you. Not you, but an AI version of you. So don't worry about it. I'm just going to talk about beating you up. I'm kidding, of course. I'm not. I might think about it, but I won't.